Starting your Thursday with all the latest headlines now on ITV. It's Good Morning Britain.
Mummy!
That's Mummy.
Good morning, Britain. Home at last. Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe touches down on British soil for the first time in 6 years as her battle for freedom from Iran finally comes to an end.
Looking forward to rebuilding their lives, the family of fellow British Iranian national Anousheh Ashouri speak of their relief at his release from Iran's notorious Evin prison.
We can now actually become one again and start the process of healing and going back to where we left off very abruptly almost 5 years ago.
Buried in the rubble, Russia denies bombing a theatre in the besieged city of Mariupol, where hundreds of civilians, many of them women and children, are said to have been hiding.
And he's hit Susanna in the face with a football and in the process beat me in a soccer raid challenge. Jack Savoretti is bravely coming back into the studio this morning ahead of his news tour.
A story of sunshine for some, showers for others, and warming up as we head into the weekend. All the details of that and more coming up on Good Morning Britain.
Thursday, 17th of March, 2022. Live from Television Centre in London. This is Good Morning Britain with Susanna Reid and Ben Shephard.
Hello there. Good morning. It's just gone 6 o'clock. Welcome to the programme.
Well, yesterday morning, I have to say, Ben, yesterday morning as we opened the programme, we knew that something might be happening. And then Tulip Sadiq came onto the programme just before we went off air and said, I can tell you hot off the press this morning that there's going to be an announcement at 10 o'clock. And then, of course, mid-morning we found out that Nazanin was coming home finally after 6 long years.
It's an extraordinary thing. We've been in the studio with Richard on so many occasions. Yeah. Richard Ratcliffe, her husband, who has been so dignified and composed and relentless in his battle to bring his wife and the mother of their daughter home, and always, always, always has just been so eloquent in the way that he's managed to sort of navigate that very tricky political line between speaking out about the government, letting him down, and sort of pushing the agenda and saying, look, we need to bring my wife home.
And at enormous risk, of course, because you don't know what the consequences of that might be or what warnings he might have had about don't speak out, because the consequences for Nazanin could be dreadful. Yes. But he made the courageous decision to do that, even risk his own life by going on a hunger strike.
A number of occasions, and that was only last year, wasn't it? And I think that when that news, and I was at home when he started getting a sense of that news, that just even us as journalists, and we're not part of the family, that I was anxious for them because there's been so many false dawns, so many opportunities when they think that she might be coming home and then it's been taken. I didn't want to believe it was going to happen until she was on that plane and that picture was posted of her on the plane.
And then the plane lands just around 1 o'clock this morning at RAF Brize Norton.
Which, by the way, was a delay. I mean, even a diplomatic flight suffers delays, and that would have been so cruel to Richard and to Gabriella at the time because it's desperate to get her back. But this moment, I can't begin to imagine how they are all feeling this morning. I imagine it feels a little bit surreal. And this is the lovely moment when Gabriella gets to give her mum a hug and they get to be back together as a family. We've got Richard's sister coming in, Nazanin's sister-in-law coming, and she tweeted late last night saying that they are back together, finally back together. Little girl has a mummy and daddy back together for the first time in 6 years. Just extraordinary.
Yeah, absolutely right. And, you know, we wish them all the best this morning because, as Richard himself said, homecoming is a journey, not an arrival. So, you know, they've got a lot of getting to know each other again, haven't they, after 6 years?
And picking up with what's been going on, and Gabriella's grown and changed so much.
Yes.
And
she's only 7 and her mum's been, you know, in prison in some way, shape or form for the 6 years of those 7.
Yeah. And of course, it's the broader point as well as understanding, you know, the questions. I think this is one of the things that Richard, again, so dignified yesterday, questions about what needs to be learnt from this. Now is not the time for them as a family to ask, why has it taken so long? What could have happened differently? They can now just enjoy being together. There's that amazing picture of them as a family.
Yeah.
But for the government particularly, you know, how do they deal with things like this in the future? Does it have to last 7 years for the negotiations to take place? You know, and equally, this was connected to a debt from back in the 70s.
400 million that we owed them.
And we talked about that with Richard as well. Are they going to pay the debt? And finally, that has been settled. It's just, it was just on a bleak landscape because we're getting a lot of bad news. It was just an absolute moment of joy that was so, so special, wasn't it?
And Jonathan Swain is at Brize Norton for us. A very good morning to you, Jonathan. It's such a good morning, not just for this family. There's other families, of course, affected by the events of yesterday. Just talk us through, as we were describing, there was tension 24 hours ago that something might be happening, but as Ben said, until that plane took off and then landed, I'm sure they couldn't be 100% sure that it was all going to be OK.
Yeah, morning to you both. What a moment, what a night, hey. This did happen in the middle of the night as most people were sleeping, and for Nazneen and for Anusha, it really must have felt like a dream for them. They've only just really left Brize Norton at about 3 o'clock this morning. The plane landed at 1 o'clock in the morning. They had about 2 hours or so with members of the family and their friends, and all of the hell that they endured for so many years, both of them at the hands of the Iranians in a prison, was swapped really for hugs last night, and there were lots of them. I was lucky enough to be here at Brize Norton on the tarmac as the plane touched down, and to see both of them step onto British soil for the first time. And what really struck me was when I just noticed Nazneen, her face pressed up against the aeroplane